some of the things are happening. Where did these law students get the idea that the Constitution is something to be bended, or disposed of? That the judiciary sees itself now through, the majority of law schools. Talk to lawyers. The purpose of the law and of the judiciary is to correct social wrongs, largely due with race, or now gender issues, etc. And so you don't need any constitutional precedent. It doesn't care if the authority is rooted in the Constitution or not. We'll create it. We'll find it. It's rooted in the area of race, in this critical race theory. We come back, I want you to hear from Professor Derrick Bell himself. There's audio of him laying out why he believes that racism is permanent in America. And once you hear that for yourself, then I want to talk with you. Okay, what is racism? Are you teaching your children, according to what Derrick Bell says, that racism is permanent? Or are you going the Martin Luther King route, where no, you envision a dream, you envision racism is permanent in every vestige of society? So the purpose of government is to correct social wrongs, and especially the replete racism that America has been burdened with that can never be overcome. And if you are of that ideological ilk, along with Derrick Bell, racism is never over. In fact, that's why it is such a giant issue. It's unavoidable. And if you're into women,
is there some realities they need to deal with?
Somebody move along here. Basically, I've asked people ask me in book reading, you're too discouraging for our young people. But it's like racism is permanent, which I think that telling the truth as you see it is never discouraging. It can be enlightening to really know.
All right, stop it there. All right, so quick point in case you can't hear it because you're driving on the freeway and it might be too loud, but what he just said was he's getting pushback from the black community, being told your message is too discouraging. And he says, look, it's never discouraging if you tell the truth. And the truth is racism is permanent. All right, he goes on.
This little white guy up in Boston.
Did he just say little white guy?
This little white guy up in Boston, who must be in his late 80s now, but it's still on the case. And he wrote me after he read The Faces at the Bottom of the Well, talking about this permanence of racism. He said, Derrick, when Howard Sheldon is his name. He said, Derrick, when people used to ask me, how long is racism going to live? Last, I would say 400 years. But I wouldn't believe it, and it wouldn't be satisfying to them. And he said, then I read your book. And he said, I got it. Racism is permanent. It's always going to be here. And he said he was free. He had this little office. I guess he had some trust money. He had this little civil rights office. He'd been running for years. And now he's going to all his friends and he said, racism is permanent.
All right, so that's what Derrick Bell is all about. Racism is permanent. This is critical race theory. This is when Barack Obama...
Open up your hearts and your minds to the words of Professor Derrick Bell.
Right? And what Derrick Bell is all about, what he's all about is...
racism is permanent.
All right, and that's why Harvard law professors hid this.
Of course, we hid this throughout the 2008 campaign, so no, I don't care.
Right, so now it's out, and people can hear this. So this is why, let them into your hearts and minds, as he said.
Open up your hearts and your minds.
All right, and so what? Meaning, his ideas have profoundly influenced me, and so you too should believe what he's saying. That's what Barack Obama said back at the Harvard Law School protest with Derrick Bell. Derrick Bell is about critical race theory. That's the law and the judiciary, therefore, are not meant to be colorblind. They are meant to correct past social wrongs. Derrick Bell continued. Listen.
He said he recognized that if you looked at it that way, then when you had a little success, you could celebrate it. But when you had the setbacks, the defeats, you weren't defeated, you see, because this was part of the thing. You kept going. He said that his example was the alcoholic, that in order for the alcoholic going to the various sessions To start getting a grip on it is to stand and say, I am John Jones, I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, Derrick Bell, that's Derrick Bell talking.
I'm going to try to get through without taking a drink.
And so Derrick Bell draws a parallel between being an alcoholic and being a racist. Even if you've been sober for 20 years, you still say, my name's Bill and I'm an alcoholic. Well, what Derrick Bell wants America to say is, hi, my name is America and I'm a racist. And maybe I've had, quote, one sober day or one non-racist day. I'm still at root a racist. I could go right back into it because
Racism is perfect.
Right.
Yeah, and the problem also is why only whites are racist, and how come nobody else is?
Colorblind, if you raise them like Martin Luther King, or as I would argue as a Christian, then you need to be re-educated by Derrick Bell. Because for Derrick Bell, racism is permanent and unavoidable. It will take hundreds and hundreds of years, and even then it's not going to do anything. Now, as a Christian, of course, sin is in the human heart. Right. That's not where he's coming from. Derrick Bell is saying what we need to do, every vestige of American culture, in fact, the world, but every element of American culture is so inebriated in racism that we need reverse racism now to correct things. So what we're going to do, it comes down to this. We're going to discriminate against the former white majority in order to end discrimination. And it's like, aren't you perpetuating the same problem? So here we go. Thomas Sowell was asked about Derrick Bell. Listen.
Correct me on the names and everything. Derrick Bell?
Yes.
Harvard Law School, black man.
Yes.
Threatened the law school if they didn't hire a black woman.
Yes.
He's gone. He's leaving.
Well, no. Well, he's taking. If I understand it correctly, he's taking unpaid leave until such time as they hire a woman of color, as he says. But he's also said that by black, he does not mean skin color. He means those who are really black, not those who think white and look black. And so what he's really saying is he wants ideological conformity in the people that are hired to fill this position. That's not uncommon either. I know a black woman, for example, who she has a PhD. She's had a book published. She has a contract on another book. She's taught at a couple of very nice places. She has a devil of a time getting a job, not a job in a prestigious institution, a job teaching at a college. And the reason is that she gets shot down, blackballs, whatever, by people who don't like her ideology. That's happening not only racially, it's also happening even to where race is not an issue. Or law school, I learned recently, there's a woman who was being considered for a 10-year position, and all the men voted for her and all the women voted against her because she did not follow radical feminism. And so you're getting these ideological tests, so that at the very time that there's all this mouthing of the word diversity, there is this extremely narrow ideological conformity that's being enforced wherever people have the power to enforce.
This is Thomas Sowell, longtime professor at Stanford University, talking about Derrick Bell at Harvard.
What did you think of Derrick Bell's whole plan?
Well, his chances of success will depend upon whether or not he's overestimated his importance to the Harvard Law School. I think it would be a tragedy if they caved in. And I was very pleased to see that they seem to show some backbone, which is quite rare among academics. Sacrificing and so on. I suppose one could have, if one wanted to look at it that way, seen Hitler that way in his early days. It's just a question of where that kind of idealism leads. He has launched a despicable attack on a young black professor at the law school who doesn't go along with this. A young man named Randall Kennedy, who's written a very thoughtful, intelligent article last June in the Harvard Law Review, questioning some of the assumptions that people are making, people like Derrick Bell, and doing it in a very gentlemanly as well as a very logical way, empirical way. And that's not what they want. They want the conclusion to be that they want him to march in lockstep, and he won't do it. And they're doing their best to make life impossible for him.
All right, one more. This is Thomas Sowell from Stanford University in 1990 talking about Derrick Bell at Harvard University, talking about critical race theory and his ideas.
What do you think Harvard will do?
I've heard that Kennedy, and I don't know this, I've heard that he has tenure, and so I think that he may be all right.
But I mean, what do you think they'll do with
Derrick Bell?
Yes.
I hope that they will resist it, and since it's gotten so much publicity, I'm not sure they could stand to cave into it. I was very pleased to see that Alan Dershowitz at Harvard had criticized this, and then he picked up on the fact that what Bell is really asking for is not only that people be hired by race, but they be hired to fit Derrick Bell's ideology.
Wow. What would happen if this was going on at Stanford Law School?
They'd have caved in long ago.
Stanford Law School would have.
Yes, I think so. It's a judgment call, but that's my judgment.
Why would they do it so quickly?
Just looking at their track record. They have perfected the technique of preemptive surrender.
All right, so there you have it. So this is something.
About there's a white woman in a rich car philosophy in his mind when he did it. No one knew why that guy did it. No one could ever figure out. He killed himself later. But there are crimes. I think there are crimes. I could give you hundreds of these crimes, including 3 little white girls that were beaten almost to death in Long Beach.
Long Beach, right.
Yeah. Many crimes like that. They don't go talked about in the media.
Well, and because it's the race issue, Tim, and we all know this reality, right? And so, look, I just wanted to, I'm out of time, and that's why I got to move on. But, look, this is something for you to be aware of. I just wanted to expose you to this, and at the end of the day, my conclusion is, how are you raising your kids? If you're raising them